Hey guys, what's going on? It's your boy, the Mad Kagan, up here today actually with a list. I've got a couple of lists that I've wrote out, some more ideas down the line. But today I wanted to talk about 10, I call them cliches in video games, or you can call these cliches, you can call them um, features, you can call them like whatever you want really. But these are things that I think, you know, need to stop, or at least they need to utilize these things differently. Things that I just can't stand in the modern generation of gaming. And again, older games probably had these more, but again, they still do these things, and you make you wonder, why are they doing these things? So the first thing, number one, is timers. I think timers in video games don't have a place in modern video games. During the arcade era of video games, it made sense to have a timer, right? Because it meant people couldn't hog the machines. And, the whole point of an arcade machine back in the day was to make money. It still is. You make money from an arcade machine, so you couldn't have someone hogging a game trying to go as slowly as possible to try and get the most out of their money, right? But in today's society, why do games still have timers? Now, I know when you go, oh, you've got arcadey games. Timers should be something that's completely optional. If you've got a modern game that has a timer, this is very common in platformers, especially things like Super Mario. And to me, I think timers just add an unnecessarily stressful element that doesn't need to be there. There's a difference between having a mission that has a timer, or like a countdown, like in Resident Evil, where you got to escape before it blows up. That makes a lot of sense, right? But having an actual timer for a home console game, it doesn't make any sense to me. Why do you need a timer? Because it just adds that unnecessary stress. If I paid for a game and I own that game, why do I need to feel like I'm being rushed constantly? If I want to stop and take a break, or if I want to look around and try and collect items and things, I shouldn't have to feel, that I need to have that timer. Having a time attack mode or an optional timer, that's fine. Just do that. Don't have a timer in the game that doesn't allow you to turn it off, because it just adds that unnecessary stress into a game. Number two, this was very common in beaten ups, but attacks that drain your own health. Why on earth do you have an attack that drains your own health? Yeah, I kind of get it. Again, going back to the arcade, if you're playing like Streets of Rage or Fatal Fury or something like that, having an attack that drained your own health meant that people couldn't just constantly spam the super attacks to just kill everyone on the screen, right? But it don't make no sense to me, because why on earth have an attack that hurts you when again, you sort of goes, well, it's the trade-off, isn't it? You trade a bit of health for dealing loads of damage. Just a simple concept. Instead of having a health drain attack, if you don't want people to spam the special moves, have a mana meter, like a power meter, or have item pickups that replenish the amount of special attack you could do. You don't need to have attack that drain your own health. If you're playing like an RPG or something, and you have like a spell or something that increases your damage for like 25 seconds, but at the cost of a certain amount of health, that's fine. If it's clearly written that this attack or ability does drain some of your own health, that's fine. But when you're playing beat 'em ups and things, don't have attack that drain your own health without telling me. It's just wasting health at the end of the day. I just hate health drain attacks, but personal health drain attacks. Number three, boss rushes. I know I might get a lot of hate for this one, but boss rushes was mostly common in shooters. But for me, a boss rush should be something that is a separate mode. I know a lot of people like the challenge of, having to replay and fight all the bosses in one go and trying to challenge themselves. That's fine. but don't skimp out on going, right, we could have 8 missions in the game. For example, let's look at a shooter game, for example. When I say shoot 'em up, spaceship games or whatever. Let's say it has 8 missions, and mission 7 is a boss rush. Why? I've killed all those bosses before. Why do I need to do it all again? It's not like the game says, oh, they have now been resurrected, blah, blah, blah. Why do you need boss rushes? All they do is, again, going back to the arcade days, they were just made to try and get that last bit of money from you because they know that you're close to beating the game. You're close to beating the game. So let's put all of the bosses that obviously are going to kill you and lose that last bit of money. You don't need this in modern generation. You don't need boss rushes. If you like boss rushes and you want boss rushes in your game, have a separate mode for it. Even Devil May Cry, for example. I know, I can't remember if all of them did, but I know 3, for example, did have a thing where you had to fight all the bosses before the final boss. And even then, I thought that was unnecessary. I've beaten them before. Why do I need to do it again? You don't need to do it again. If you killed someone, unless they do some cutscene or something that show you, oh, they've now come back to life, blah, blah, blah. I shouldn't have to go through and go, right, we could have had an extra stage that had just another stage that was a bit more challenging with a new boss. But instead of doing that, we'll just throw them all in one more time just to piss people off, Number 4, unfair enemies. This one is a big gripe of mine. You can have challenging enemies in games, right? Obviously, when it comes to, video games, obviously, you're going to have certain different enemy types. Normally you have your basic enemies, then you have your armored enemies, your elite enemies, your special enemies, your boss enemies and stuff like that. But I think there's some enemies that are just completely unfair, that will just rush you with constant attacks, have super strong attacks, be able to kill you so quickly. Lu Bu, for example, in the Dynasty Warrior series, I think he is the most unfair character in any video game I've ever played, because he just constantly, he can kill you in like 2 or 3 hits. Yeah, I know the whole, oh, he's the strongest warrior and all of that, but I think it's stupid. It's like a beginner's trap. You see this guy, through the rest of the game, you've been killing every general that you've killed, and then you see another guy and you think, oh, he looks pretty awesome. I think unfair enemies are just ridiculous. Another one for me that was really unfair enemies are the infected in the original Dead Island. Not the zombies, the walkers, the infected. They just charge at you. Dead Island Riptide is even worse. I mean, you just go through it and they'll just have like 5 or 6 of them constantly charging at you, draining your health so quickly. It's just annoying, and they're unfair. There's having a challenge and there's being unfair to people. Don't have an enemy that has a distinctive unfair advantage over you. Every enemy should have this a bit. Every enemy in a game should have a weakness and a strength, as it should be. Look at like Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, right? The Juggernauts, for example. Those, I even thought those guys were completely ridiculous. They come at you, especially the Riot Shield ones. I always thought they were really unfair. But they obviously, there is a way to deal with them. You stun grenade them, you attack them from behind and stuff like that. But then there's just enemies that are just completely unfair, unnecessary, and just ruin the experience for me. So yeah. Number 5, Lon grind. I think grinding is something that when you've got an RPG, for example, like Final Fantasy or turn-based RPG, grinding comes with the product, right? It's no secret that grinding in RPGs is something that's you level up to go on to get stronger and stuff like that. But then you've got games that just make grinding just so boring, where you're just grinding for ages and ages and ages to get that next level up. You want that extra item space, you got to level up and all of this. I think grinding should be something that if you're going to have grinding in your games, do it in a way that gives you just enough time for grinding, but still give you plenty of time to do other stuff. Because, you know, not everyone has hours and hours and hours to play video games, right? You know, I've been playing Biomutant, and even in that game, you know, I don't feel like that game's grindy at all. You know, but I'm still quite early into the game. You know, grinding to me is something that you do because you want to level up, but then there are other games where you can grind, like Fallout 4, for example, is a great example of this. Um, Not once in Fallout 4 did I feel like I had to grind at all to get further in the game. I never did. I leveled up because I was taking my time with it. This is why I love Skyrim and Fallout and Oblivion, because you can do it as you want, you know. You know, and again, like again with these sort of grinding, oh, you need to be a certain level to do this quest and all of that. So you're like, oh, I want to do that quest, but yeah, grinding to me is something that's okay, but in small doses. You know, don't make your game just completely grinding. And people, when they sit there and go, oh, I put 200 hours into Final Fantasy, yeah, but how many of those hours were actually you progressing the story, and how many of those hours were you just fighting the same enemies over and over again, you know? Number 6, this is probably the biggest one for me: unskippable cutscenes. Cutscenes are very common now in games. You know, there was a time where you could put a game in and you jumped straight in. You had a small story. Oh, you know, you got to rescue the princess. That's it. But games now are stories, and in fact, games now, in my opinion, sometimes have better stories than movies and TV shows. You know, but when you're playing a game, you don't want to spend an hour, half an hour, 20 minutes watching a cutscene that you may have already seen. Simple thing is, if you've not seen the cutscene, chances are you're going to want to watch it. If you're that interested in the story, you're going to want to watch it. But that not everyone wants to watch cutscenes. Some people just want to play the game. Simple thing. Have the option to skip cutscenes. Some games do this in different ways. Some games go, right, if you've seen the cutscene before, then you don't have to rewatch it. There's nothing worse than playing a game, having to sit through like a 15-minute cutscene, dying, and then having to rewatch the cutscene. That I think that's ridiculous. I want to jump. If I failed and I've died or lost or whatever, I don't want to have to sit through that whole cutscene again. I want to just get back in there and go back to what I was doing to try again. How can you try again if you've got to sit another 15 minutes, you know? Yeah, cutscenes should always be skippable, bar none. Number 7, online focus. I think games nowadays are too much focused online. Before, you had online games, you had single player games. Now you have single player games with online, and you have online games with some single player elements. Call of Duty, for example, you know, it has a single player campaign which is maybe 5-6 hours long, and then all of the content is online. You know, and what pisses me off even more is the single player games that you need to be online to play. I understand for patches, updates, DLC, things like that, but why do I need to be online if I'm playing a game that's single player? If I've installed the game and I've downloaded the updates, do I need to be online? Not so much of an issue for me, because obviously if you've got good internet, you don't have that much of an issue, but there's nothing worse than playing a single player game and your internet goes down or jolts or whatever, or you go away and you want to take your PlayStation with you or Xbox or whatever. You know, this was an issue me and my friend had. When we went on holiday, he brought his Xbox One and we wanted to play Left 4 Dead 2. And back in the day, we could do that all the time. You know, it was simple. When you played it on the Xbox 360, you would turn it on. You say, it would say, right, second player join, and it would say sign in or sign in as a guest, and you play it. But when we tried to do it on holiday, it's like, oh, you need to sign in. You need to be connected to the internet to sign in and all of this. I'm like, just let me play the fucking game. So we couldn't play it. I am so sick of this online focus nowadays. Why do I need to do all of this shit? Let me just put the game in and play it. Yes, the update installation, fine. That comes with the console. But at the end of the day, I don't need to be online to play a single player game. And stop giving games online focus, you know. It pisses me off. Number 8. Battle passes and microtransactions. I think this is the biggest scumbag thing that modern generation gaming had. Offline, free to play games, you got to make your money one way or another, right? Fine. If you got a free to play game, you're going to make your money through battle passes, microtransactions. But then they lock it. When you think about it, if you got a free to play game, you're going to want to try and get all of that extra content, right? So they know, yeah, you're going to buy your battle pass and microtransactions. You know, Overwatch, for example, is a prime example of this now, which is why I don't really play a lot of Overwatch anymore, because it's all hidden behind the battle pass and that now, and it's ridiculous. You know, they could have just kept Overwatch as it was, you know, just updated it and gone, right, well, bring out Overwatch 2 as a paid game, you know. But what pisses me off even more is companies that have the audacity to charge you £70 for a game and still want you to pay for battle passes, pay for microtransactions. I know a lot of people are saying to me, well, it's optional, you don't have to. But when a majority of the cool stuff that you think, oh yeah, I'm playing Call of Duty, oh, look at that gun, that looks so sick, I want that gun. But you can't. You can't have it. You have to pay another 30 quid to get that gun. Why? And I'm not talking about DLCs or expansion packs that actually add more stuff to the game. That's fine. I ain't got a problem with paying for a DLC to add more stuff to the game, because I'm actually getting something back. Battle passes and microtransactions are just so stupid and should not be in any game. Look at Call of Duty. A prime example, Modern Warfare 2, Modern Warfare 3, World at War. If you wanted a new gun, or an emblem, or a perk, or whatever, how did you get it? You leveled up. And I know they kind of still do that, but a majority of the stuff, you have to buy. Why? Whatever happened to unlocking things as I progress? That's how games should be. You should be able to unlock things. As you progress through a game, you should unlock it. You put something into all these hours into the game and think to yourself, oh, I put all these hours in. Oh, look at my rewards. Yeah? And then someone else can come along and go, oh, yeah, I've got all this stuff. But because I've got more money than you, I can get it before you. It's so stupid. I hate battle passes. I hate microtransactions. Free-to-play games, it makes sense. And one thing that puts pay to win. If your battle passes include pay to win stuff, no. Online stuff should, battle passes, microtransactions, if you're going to have it in your game, cosmetics only. Never anything that makes your game pay to win. Simple. I look back at Halo Reach. I loved Halo Reach because all the unlockables were by leveling up and unlocking. You know, you wanted that next helmet. It was quite simple. You put more hours into the game. Going back to that long grind thing I said, yeah, that was a long grind. But Halo Infinite comes out and it's like, oh, look at all these cool helmets. But you can't get that unless you pay an extra bit of money. And I know the Halo Infinite multiplayer is free to play, but still. Number 9. Yearly games that come out every fucking year that add nothing more to the game. Call of Duty and sports games. This is all it is. It's every year there's a new Call of Duty. Modern Warfare 3 was meant to be an expansion for Modern Warfare 2. But Activision go, do you know what? Instead of doing that, which would have made a lot more sense, we'll charge another 70 quid for a game that is basically an expansion pack. A FIFA, Madden, freaking NHL, PGA, sports games. Why do they bring them out every year? And there's people that go out there and buy them. If you're a fan of sports games, I'm not trying to say you're stupid for doing it, but these companies, simple. if you've got a new engine in the game, WWE, for example, WWE used to bring out yearly games, right? Added new characters, you know, updated roster, but it added more stuff into the game and that. But then when WWE 2K20 came out, we didn't get 2K21. It went straight to 2K22 because they rebuilt the engine. If you're going to rebuild your engine, don't bring out another game. Just take a hiatus. If you want to do it, PES, for example, Pro Evolution Soccer, I don't know if they still do it, but I think what they did in the end was actually just update the game with the new season or whatever, the new players or whatever, and things like that. I don't get why they do this. Instead of actually just bringing out the same game each year with slight improvements and slight changes and updated rosters or whatever, how about take a year off, do a change, focus on building something different, and don't charge people 70 quid for it. Simple. This is why I don't buy modern games anymore. This is why I very rarely buy any games, especially yearly games, you know? And last but not least, pointless fucking quest. I can't say how many times I've put so many hours into a game and a quest comes along, and for me, I'm the sort of person that when a quest comes along, I do it. It goes into my quest log and I try to do them all. But I think pointless quests are just ridiculous. I mean, Fallout, for example, was another prime example of this, because in Fallout 4, you know, there are a lot of pointless quests where it's literally go here, kill these enemies, come back to me, I'll give you some money. Repeating quests, you know, but they just seem pointless at the end of the day because nothing's really happening. You know, a quest should make you feel like The Witcher 3, for example, is a great example of a game that doesn't really have pointless quests. It probably has a few in there. But in The Witcher, every quest felt like its own story. And that's why I love The Witcher 3. And I definitely will be going back to play that at some point. You know, if you're going to have a quest, should be an adventure. It'd be something that you go, oh, that was awesome. You know, pointless quest if you just go, oh, go and kill this person for me. Go and fetch this letter for me. And I'll give you some money. Why? What's my motivation for that? What, because you give me 50 coins? No. Make your, instead of actually just going, right, we're just going to have about 100 fetch quests in the game, about 50 freaking escort quests. How about we have less quests in the game, but actually make the quests enjoyable? Pointless quests to me are just ridiculous. You know, you don't need, your quest should be fun and enjoyable. That's what a game should be, fun and enjoyable. You don't need all this pointlessness running around and that. Again, if it's optional, fine, you don't have to do it, but I digress. But anyway, there are 10 things in video games I wish would stop. That's what I'll call this video. 10 things in video games that I wish would stop. But anyway, if you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a like. My next video is going to be the top 10 British comedies that you must watch if you're not in the UK. If you are in the UK and you haven't watched them, then what are you doing, man? One of them on there might not be classed as a comedy, but I class it as a comedy. That will be my next one. So just a small little update before I go off. A lot of things are happening at the moment. We're trying to sort a few things out. I am going away in a couple of weeks. Not next week, the week after. Just got to go out and sort my son's birthday presents out, spend a bit of time with my family. My partner's going away at the end of September, but come October, we're not too sure what's happening with things. I'm not going to go into details because it's quite personal, but things might change, and I don't know whether or not I'm going to still be here or going to be somewhere else. I don't know. If things do change, I will put out a video or some sort of post, because I figured out how you can actually do the post now on YouTube and stuff like that. But like I said, I'm a big thank you to everyone who supports the channel and that, you know, and all the new subscribers. If you're wondering what I'm watching, I'm actually going to watch some more YouTube tonight. I've actually been watching some non-commentary gameplay videos. Actually, it's somewhat relaxing actually. It's kind of cool to just sit there and just enjoy the game, and rather than, don't get me wrong, I do like commentary on games, but then you get some people that just you don't get to see the game for itself. And because I don't have a lot of time to play games now, if I want to check out a gameplay video or playthrough, I'm quite happy to do that rather than go out and try and play the game myself, unless it's something I really want to try out, you know. And as always, guys, just feel free to leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Comment below, let me know some more lists you want to see, and let me know, do you agree with some of these, and what are some of the things that you wish would stop in video games. And of course, subscribe if you haven't already, and follow me on Twitter and Instagram at the Mad Cargo. Yes, I call it Twitter. It is not X to me, it is Twitter. And as always, have a nice day, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, and bye-bye. Time for a spag ball.